today's video, I'm going to show you how to make this super easy throw blanket with this fun ruffle border. It is super soft and squishy and the coziest blanket you're ever going to make. And I'll show you how to do it. So let's get started. The finished size of this blanket ends up being about 50 inches by 72 inches. So it's a nice oversized throw blanket. I used a size 6 jumbo yarn. I actually used, I have the label here. I used a Big Twist Plush from Joann's, and it's just 100% polyester like blanket yarn. And I used the color Cardamom. Here's what's left of my 9th skein of it. And I just really liked this color, and it was on sale whenever I was buying yarn, so that's what I grabbed. But you could also use like a Bernat Blanket Yarn. I have this one here. It is slightly skinnier, but they're both size 6, and they both, you know, they have the same recommendations for hook size and everything, so it will be a fine swap. Your blanket might end up a teensy bit smaller, but this thing is pretty big, so it'll be fine. So I used like I said, the Big Twist from Joann's, and I ended up needing 9 skeins of it. The 9th one, as you can see, I didn't use very much of, but I did need it to finish the border. If you wanted to make this without the border, you could get away with 8 skeins and it would be fine. But the border is really easy and fun, so I definitely recommend that you do it. Hook size, you're going to need a size 10 millimeter hook or an N/P, and that is really all you need besides a yarn needle and, you know, some time. So let's dive in. Okay, to start, we're going to do a slip knot. So I'm just going to take my cord, wrap it around my fingers like that, and then grab the yarn and pull it through and tighten up the loop like that. And I'm going to stick my hook into the loop and then pull the yarn to tighten it up. Now we're going to chain 93 times. And I try to make my chains not too tight. It's kind of hard to tell with this yarn because it's so fluffy, but I'm kind of pulling the loop a little bit to make it kind of a little bit larger than my hook when I do my chains. So I have my 93 chains completed. So now that we got our chain, we're going to half double crochet into the 3rd chain from our hook. So this is the 1st chain from our hook, 2nd, and then that right there is the 3rd. So we're going to yarn over and insert the hook into that 3rd chain, pull up a loop. Then you're going to have, so you'll have 3 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over and pull through all 3. And there you go. That is a half double crochet. So again, we yarn over, and we're going to just go in the next stitch or the next chain, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through all 3 loops. And there you go. And you're just going to repeat that going all the way down the row. You'll have a total of 91 stitches once you get done with this row. All right, so there we go. I got my last stitch of the row done. So now we have 91 stitches that we did all together, and that does not count our turning chain. But so there we go. That's row 1. Now to do row 2, we are going to turn. And the first thing we're going to do is chain 2. So 1, 2. And now what we're going to be doing is working in the back loop only for each row. And this will give us kind of that ribbed look for our blanket. So this is our first stitch right here. And I wanted to show you, since we're doing half double crochet, there are 3 loops that form on the top of the stitch. This front one is called the 3rd loop. We're not going to be worrying about that guy. Then there's the 2 on the top that you would normally work under both, but we're going to just work under the back one, which is the one furthest away from you. And again, I know this yarn is kind of hard to see, but if you look right here on the top, there's like a little V shape, and that is the 2 loops. This is the front loop, and this is the back loop. And we're just going to be working under the back loop. So to do that, we're going to yarn over and insert our hook right just underneath that back loop, like that. And then you pull up a loop and yarn over and pull through all 3. and there you go. And then you're going to do the same thing for the next stitch. And again, it's kind of hard sometimes to see. You can feel if you can't see it, but you just go under. These are the 2 loops. You're just going under that back one, pulling up a loop. You got 3 on your hook that way, and yarn over and pull through. And you're just going to repeat that all the way down your row. So yarn over, go under the back loop only and pull up a loop. Yarn over and go through all 3. And then just keep going down your row. And this is what you're going to do for the whole blanket until we get to the border. So it's very easy and repetitive. And once you get used to the yarn you're using and you know, and you can see kind of where the loops are, your brain kind of figures it out after a while. At first it's like, oh, I can't see them. And then you kind of just get it. But this is how it will end up looking. You see it gets this kind of cool ridge or ribbed look, and then you just keep on going. And here's my last stitch, and you just want to make sure you're getting in the last one, and we're not worrying about that turning chain. We're just going right into the last half double crochet, and there we go. So now that's row 2 done. Here's what the back side looks like. Here's what the front side looks like. And now we're going to start this 3rd row, and it's exactly the same as row 2. So you're just going to repeat this over and over again, but I'll get you started again. So we're just going to go chain 2, and then in that same first stitch that our chain's coming out of, yarn over, insert your hook into that back loop only, pull up your loop, yarn over, and go through all 3. And repeat for each stitch going down the row, and I'll kind of show you what it's gonna start to look like. Get a couple stitches done here. Okay, and see, then the row or the ridge starts to form on this side. So this was from the last row, and then it'll be in this row, and it'll just alternate back and forth all the way down your blanket. Now if you wanted to do this without the ridge, if you just wanted to go under both loops on the top instead of the back loop, you could, and that would get rid of that ridge and it would just be a solid or half double crochet. So that's another option that also works, but I just kind of like the added texture we get with this. You're going to go ahead and repeat that for 82 rows altogether, and that will be the end of the blanket portion, the inside portion, and then we're going to do the outside ruffle border, which is really fun and easy and cute. But just go ahead and continue doing your rows, and then we'll move on to the next step. So when you are crocheting along and you run out of yarn, I want to show you real quick how to add on some more. So this is how I do it. I go ahead and continue, like I'm going to do my next stitch, and I get to this point where I have the 3 loops, and then I go ahead and grab my next piece of yarn, and I use that to pull that, if I can get it on there, through the loops instead of my old yarn. And then I finish the stitch like that. And then I go ahead and do another 1 or 2 just to really anchor it in there. And once I've done that, I go back and I have my ends and I just tie them together really, really good. And then I'll weave these ends under some stitches once I'm done. And then just continue on. So now I have finished the whole blanket, and now it's time to do our ruffle border. So I'm going to show you how to do that real quick. So first we're going to be working down this side edge, and we're going to be working into each side or each row, the edge of each row. Start by chaining 3 times. And that's going to count as our first double crochet, and we're just, it doesn't really matter where on the edge you insert your hook, it's kind of hard to tell what's going on. So we're going to double crochet now. We're going to do 3, well this first one we're going to do 2 double crochets into the side of this row because the chain 3 counts as our first double crochet. So I'm just going to go in right here, and you can go in the same place each time and do 1 and then do 2. There we go. And then on this next row, we're going to do 3 double crochets in the same spot, just right there on that side. 1, 2, 3. There we go. And then just keep doing that all the way down. So each row will get 3 double crochets just in the side. And you'll see it'll kind of start ruffling on you once you get going. And as you go, it'll just get a little bit rufflier. So just keep going until you get to your corner. Alright, so I made it all the way down this first side, and then I did my last 3 double crochets here in the side of this last row. So now we're going to turn the corner and start right here in this first stitch here of the starting chain. So we're just going to work in each little lump along this, this edge. And you don't have to worry about doing anything fancy for the corner. Since we're doing a ruffle, there's plenty of, you know, give to go around the corner already. So we're going to turn the corner, and then along this row, we're going to end up making 2 double crochets in each stitch instead of 3, just because they're closer together, and that will make it a little more similar to this first side. So here's my first little lump, or whatever you want to call it. It looks like a lump. On this edge, so I'm just going to go ahead and go under that and do 2 double crochets in there. There we go. And then just keep doing that going down the row. So I made it all the way down this side now, and I made it to this corner. And this is my starting tail from the very beginning of the blanket. So we'll weave that in later, or you can crochet over it if you want. I'm just going to weave it in later though. And now we're going to go along this row, and again we're going to be going on the ends of the row. So we'll be doing 3 double crochets in the end of each of these rows, just going all the way down. And then when you get to the end of this row, you're just going to turn your corner and do the last row, which is going to be into stitches. And in each stitch, you'll just do 2 double crochets for each one. And then, so I'm going to go ahead and do all that, and I will meet you at the very end where we join to the first ruffle stitch. I just finished the last row, and now I'm back to where we started. Here's our starting chain 3, and I did my last 2 double crochets here in this last stitch. So now all we have to do is slip stitch to the top of the chain 3 to join. So I'm going to see, I think it's about here. Like I said, it's kind of tough to tell with this yarn, but I like to go under 2 loops just to be neat and tidy, and just slip stitch, and there you go. I'm going to cut my yarn, leave a little bit of a tail so I can weave it in, and just pull it through the loop. And there we go. It's all finished. We got our cute ruffly little border. It's just a subtle ruffle. It's not a big crazy thing. It just kind of adds a little bit of fun on the edge without being too crazy. And this blanket is so cozy. Now I'm just gonna use my yarn needle to weave in the ends. And there's several of them. I used 9 skeins of, well, I didn't use most of the 9th one, but I used 9 skeins of yarn for this. So I gotta go weave all my ends in. But Since this is chenille yarn, I like to leave a pretty good tail and weave it in pretty good, just so it doesn't come undone in the wash. But you're just going to do that with all your yarn tails, and then you'll be all done. All right, we finished our blanket, so now it's time for the big reveal. See if I can get very much of this on camera. It's really big. As you can see, it's quite large. 50 inches by 72 inches. And the ruffle border just gives it a nice little, you know, fun edge without being anything too crazy. So I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I think this blanket is gonna be one of our favorites. Everybody's already been using it, and I had to steal it so I could do this outro real quick. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please leave a like, comment, and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of my future videos. Thanks for watching.